Okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna be honest about this video. I recorded this stuff weeks ago. And every time I thought I was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll record this little voiceover here. I just absolutely didn't. So I don't even remember what I exactly did. So we're gonna literally be watching this for the first time together because I'd have no recollection. All right, so we're doing the 2nd Rhode Island Infantry. We're gonna convert some guys because I haven't bought the Perry's Rhode Island Infantry yet, and I want a skirmishing company, so I want guys like advancing, reloading, and stuff like that to throw out in front of a battalion of dudes advancing at like right shoulder shifters or shoulder arms. So that's the reason for these conversions. I'm starting with just like the basic Perry's plastic box of Federal infantry, whatever bodies, either the skirmishing bodies or the advancing bodies, like at right shoulder shift or charge bayonet. But I'm doing a little bit of conversion here. Well, first I'm doing some cleaning of these bits, and then I'll be moving on to actually like constructing these guys to look a little bit like a proper Rhode Islander in the summer of 1861. The issue with that being is that they were issued complete kits from the state of Rhode Island, everything from their specific canteens and haversacks and trousers and everything. Luckily, a lot of that can just be fixed with paint. But the biggest thing for Rhode Islanders in 1861 is a blue like wool flannel overshirt called the Burnside blouse or the Rhode Island shirt or the Rhode Island infantry blouse. It was just a state issued garment to quickly uniform thousands of men, thousands of early war volunteers answering Lincoln's call for 75,000 volunteers. So this is what they would have looked like at Manassas. Right now I'm just slicing off those buttons on this sack coat and just kind of cleaning some more stuff up there. But I'll eventually start to build that overshirt out with green stuff. I also got sick again, so I sound like absolute shit again, and obviously the mic sucks. So we're gonna keep working through this together. Little zoom in. Okay, so what I do at this point is I'm just kind of covering the split in his blouse there, his sack coat there, and I'm just gonna make it like a cohesive just shirt front across the front. The Rhode Island blouses had a pretty deep set placket on the front of the shirt, so if there's a seam there, I mean that's fine. I don't think anyone's gonna follow this tutorial, but if you do, they did have pretty deep set plackets, so don't stress too much if you can see a seam, but I would just try to chop off that button at least. You can see a guy in the back that I did a blouse and a bedroll on earlier before this one. He was kind of a test. None of these guys come out really as well as I want them to or wanted them to. I did basically 10 at the end of the video. You'll see I did 10 of these guys in various states of headgear and whatever to represent these Rhode Islanders, the 2nd Rhode Island Infantry. But I'm going to go back and actually like the next 10 I do are going to be well thought out, rather than just throwing blobs of green stuff on these miniatures. But right here I'm starting to sketch in the front of this overshirt, this Rhode Island blouse. It's literally just an overshirt. So if you were to be modeling a miniature in an overshirt, tucked or untucked, it would be the same thing. Luckily, the sack coat collar that's just part of this miniature here that he's wearing, that totally works for the shirt collar. The specifics of the Rhode Island blouse are so minute at this scale that you really can't tell. The original shirts did have a pocket on the left or right breast, but once again at this scale you can't really tell, and they've got their haversack, their canteen, and their cartridge box straps on, so trying to sculpt on a pocket was just unreasonable for me. This guy's got a fun little pose here. So yeah, that's the front of the blouse there. It's pretty simple what I'm doing. The original blouses were anywhere from mid-thigh length to like the knee, depending on how tall the wearer was. I don't know if the state regulated a length for the body of the shirt to be, if they tried to like regulate it across the board, but really, as long as your miniature is wearing the blouse is mid thigh to a little longer, that's fine. And I did a little bit of variation with the 10 that I did for this project here. And I'm just smoothing in the shoulder seam there, making sure there's no gap. Parries are pretty good about arms fitting together, but every once in a while when I'm trying to like get a very, very specific pose, there's a gap or whatever, so just fix it up. So like I said, this is their Manassas look for the Battle of Bull Run. The reason why I'm converting these guys and modeling the 2nd Rhode Island is because they directly fought opposite of Wheat's Special Battalion. So the guys I was focusing on my other video, one of my other videos, these guys were directly opposing them in combat at 1st Manassas. And they've got a just as unique story of their own, which I'm not going to go crazy into right now, but let's keep talking about their silly little uniforms. Starting with their hats, or their caps specifically. I'm trying to find, right now I'm like test fitting various infantry caps, the 1858 forge cap, or kepis, depending on which one it is, on this guy's Headgear. The second were issued kepis that were originally most likely blue, but they faded out very quickly due to inferior dyes to a like dead grass, almost gray color. There's mixed primary source references to the color of these caps, but that's most likely the case. Anyway, they were also issued havelocks, so those are usually associated with like the French Foreign Legion, for example, but it was a sun protecting cap cover that had like a cape on it. That's what I'm modeling onto him right now. Men in the 2nd, though, were also known to have worn like civilian slouch hats. They're wearing fezzes in camp. While they didn't wear those fezzes in combat, there's cool photographs of guys wearing like almost like a zouave fez in camp as like a camp hat. But they certainly wore civilian slouch hats and these havelocks in combat at 1st Manassas. So you can model your guys, with each guy with a little bit of flair, if you want him to have just the cap on, or you want him to have the havelock on as well, or a civilian slouch hat, which I think is a really neat look for an early war federal army unit, a volunteer infantry regiment. Historically the havelock would have gone over the entire cap, but since it was form fitting, I'm really just modeling on the skirt of it. And for each of the guys, I got better and better at this. So this guy's came out okay. Some of the ones I had done previously look, a little more baggy. I can always go back and fix those up. But really, this video is just about getting the basics of this look down. It's also worth noting here, and if I do a painting video for these guys, I'll talk more about the color palettes and various issued items. But these guys were also issued blankets, but not knapsacks. So they're issued red blankets from the state of Rhode Island. So the guy behind this one I'm modeling currently, I put a blanket on him which will become a red blanket. This guy's blanket list, it's really up to the soldier at Manassas as far as if they were carrying their stuff into combat or not. But something to note. And here's just real quick, here's a picture of an original uniform, and then here's a photograph of that original overshirt again, and then a reproduction that I made a couple years back, just as a reference for anyone who cares. And then here's my buddy Tom, once again, wearing the full kit and caboodle. And I'm sure I'll use this photo more if I paint the models, but that's what they look like. But yeah, it was fun. It's a fun little project. A couple minutes of modeling and sculpting, some shaving away of some things on the model. When I get into if I get into the painting video, I'll talk a little more about very specifics of, the canteen and things like that. But really, these guys are pretty simple for a fun early war option for Civil War gaming. The havelock is really a telltale, and the shirt is a big telltale. Just as an example, there's a guy, these are all the guys I ended up doing. So there's a guy in a slouch hat, there's another guy advancing at right shoulder shift with a havelock on and a longer shirt. Right here, we've got the main dude from the video. We all know him and love him. Here's another dude advancing with a longer shirt, a couple billows. I really had a hard time billowing some of these shirts because of like the pose of the model. I don't know what it is. There's the guy. I think I might repose him. He was the first one I did. A dude grabbing his cap box, Havelock billowing in the wind, and there's another guy advancing. I mean, there's really nothing special, but you can see some of the Havelocks are a little more impressive than others. Some of the shirts ended up looking way too skirty, so I might just scrap those models and restart. There's a guy without a hat on. That's always fun. There's a guy tearing a cartridge. I mean, once you start converting these Perry's boxes, all the plastic boxes, you can get some fantastic poses. So this will be the half of the skirmishing company. So they'll be, not in line like that. They'll be spread out like that on the tabletop, and then, portraying this is half of a company advancing and skirmishing against Wheat's Special Battalion. So yeah, here's some fun little photos. What a treat, what a dream. Look at that. It's almost the new year, and we're all thriving. Everyone's thriving. No one's upset. What a time to be alive.